Hey, what is up, awesome people? Shady Wags back with another Fortnite video. This time I'm going to be looking at how to funnel enemies at the storm shields. Funneling or creating choke points at the storm shields is really no different than the way you do it for objectives. It's just on a much larger scale. In the early defenses, you don't have to worry about this. In fact, you probably don't want to do it because the issue is with the storm shields, you start with one amplifier, then you begin to add up to 4 more amplifiers. And every time you add an amplifier, the area you need to funnel is going to change. So if you spend a lot of time and resources at that very first amplifier trying to funnel from all directions, you're wasting time and resources because by the time you get to the third amplifier, the first one's only going to be attacked from one side. The first 2 defenses you can get by with just fighting and very minimal traps. Then on your third and fourth, you can then begin funneling. Now the side you want to create your funnel at Stonewood at the shield itself is the east side. The south and west sides don't invest very many materials or traps into those sides because eventually those sides are not going to be attacked. You can see here I have created a tunnel 6 tiles long, and on the other side of the tunnel I have both sides blocked off. When you're trying to funnel these storm shield enemies, blocking off with 1 or 2 walls is not enough. If it's just one wall they have to go through, chances are that they're going to go through it and they're going to shred right through it. So on both sides of the tunnel, I go into the dead space on both sides and place down walls on each tile to create a checkerboard. And as I get extra metal, I may go in there and even upgrade these walls further. With all those walls, they now have the option of going to the tunnel or spending a massive amount of time going through the walls. Most of the time, they're just going to choose the tunnel. If they decide to go through those walls, it's still a win situation because if it's a timed wave, there's just no way they're going to make it through those walls in time. And if it's a numbers wave where you have to kill a certain amount, it still works out because it keeps them spread apart. This is basically the way every one of my tunnels or mazes is built. The only difference is it's not always going to be an exactly straight tunnel. You have to build that tunnel according to the terrain. So if I look at Amplifier C, this one will only be attacked from the west since I have an amplifier to the south of it. This tunnel takes a right and then a left. And the reason it does that is because there's a rock wall right behind that. So they would have to go in that direction regardless. If that rock wall wasn't there, then I would have just built the tunnel straight. You don't want to try to do all kinds of fancy turns. Something like this won't work. It looks cool, but most likely they're just going to go straight through it. You always want to try to build as straight a path as possible. This layout is better because they're trying to get from A to B the shortest way possible, so they're more likely to follow the path this way. And at the beginning of the tunnel, I'm using the same block off method on both sides of multiple walled in tiles. At the end here, there are 2 or 3 spawns, and the spawn on the right, regardless of what I tried to do to get them to move to that tunnel, they just wouldn't do it. If you run into a situation like that, then you just have to build another tunnel. Don't try to fight it in the end. It's cheaper on materials and easier just to build another path for them. So this new tunnel runs all the way back up to that C amplifier again with walled off tiles on both sides. You're going to run into situations like this I have here at this tunnel. It splits off in 2 directions, but the paths are very short. In situations where there are not a lot of tiles to place traps, you want to use wall launchers and floor launchers. There are going to be just hordes of husks coming through these tunnels, and if you have a long tunnel with a lot of traps, then it's easy to thin them out. On these short tunnels, the floor and the wall launchers are going to stun them, it's going to knock them back. That way you don't have as many coming through at once and are easier to deal with. I'm not going to go through each one of these here at Stonewood because you may have picked different amplifiers, so your defense situation may look totally different than mine. But it's just really the same thing every time. Building a tunnel from the spawn, then blocking off the dead space on both sides with walled in tiles. This is my last amplifier, and it's incomplete right now, or I guess I should say I'm repairing this thing, because it got rocked in Defense 9. The issue with this one here, it is the last amplifier, and it's right up against the shield wall, so there's just not much room to build, or to do any funneling. So this thing is going to end up being a stand and fight situation. After I figure this out and I do Defense 10, I'll get that video up so you guys can see that. Here's my Plankerton shield defense. I'm working on this right now. It's for attacks from the north. Again, really just the same way as before, a straight tunnel up to the spawn. Now I'm just going through and filling in the sides with walled-in tiles and upgrading those tiles. As I start defending this, I'll see how they react to it. Then I'll either block in more or I'll just build more tunnels. This does take a considerable amount of metal materials for the traps because you need 2 to 3 traps on each tile, and it's not something I would recommend a casual player to even start. I can't even tell you how much time I have invested in the Stonewood Storm Shield alone. I would absolutely recommend trying to get some of your friends to help you by gathering metal and materials for you if you want to try this. The upside to this is once you have it working, once they're all funneling correctly, all you have to do after each defense is repair and replace traps. Well, that's about it, guys, as far as funneling amazing enemies through a storm shield. If you want to watch the level 9 defense that I did with Tommy Brews, click down here. It was absolutely crazy. It was fun, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking. After investing this much time, you just don't want to fail and have to start over. I think if you watch that, it's going to give you a pretty good idea why you have to spend so much time funneling and mazing these husks. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, I really would appreciate it if you hit that thumbs up button. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, have a good one.